A Zimbabwean commission of inquiry urges the prosecution of perpetrators for the post-election violence in August. Nigeria's heavy dependence on generators flies against climate change goals. And eBay develops a new no-hands way to navigate iPhone apps. Africa 54 starts right now.
Well, good evening and welcome. I'm Vincent McCory. This is Africa 54. A 7-member commission of inquiry is blaming the Zimbabwean army for post-election violence that left 6 people dead and 35 injured, but it has absolved the government of President Emmerson Mnangagwa for deploying the troops. As Columbus Mavunga in Harare reports, one of the survivors welcomes the commission's recommendation for compensation.
President Emmerson Mnangagwa says the commission he had set up to investigate post-election violence had absolved his government of deploying the army, which killed 6 people. Mnangagwa said the use of the army was unavoidable but lawful since lives and property were under threat. But he said troops were not supposed to use live ammunition against people protesting a delay in election results.
It is imperative for the police agency to complete their investigations to enable the prosecution of those persons responsible for all alleged crimes committed on the 1st of August 2018. Those particular members of the military and the police found to have been in breach of their professional duties and discipline on the 1st of August 2018 should be identified as soon as possible for internal investigations and appropriate sanction.
The commission, led by former South African interim president Kgalema Motlanthe, recommended in a report Mnangagwa released Tuesday that the families of victims who lost their lives be compensated, while those wounded must have their medical bills paid for. Adrian Munjere's arm was fractured by a stray bullet on August 1st, according to a medical report. He told VOA he's still in pain and very bitter, but he welcomed the commission's call for compensation.
I think justice has been done. If they say they're compensating us, that's all we ever needed, because we were struggling with the bills, Right now I can't even afford physiotherapy. I'm supposed to be doing physiotherapy. So I think it's good news that they're going to compensate us.
The 31-year-old says he has lost most of his income since being wounded and is struggling to look after his family. Thus, medical refund alone is not enough, he said.
I would prefer a life compensation. If I could get something like 100 or 200,000 US dollars.
Why?
I think with that figure I'll be able to cope up, because I was told by medical experts that I can't even do art or manual labor with this hand anymore. So I have to do minor chores. So I think if I would get that amount of money to be able to help me.
President Mnangagwa did not indicate if his government would accept all the commission's recommendations, including those for compensation and medical refunds. Columbus Mavunga for VOA News, Harare.
The United Nations official who combats sexual violence in conflicts says that such atrocities have escalated dramatically in southern Sudan this year and that accountability is needed to prevent more rapes. Pramila Patten told the UN Security Council the number of victims in 2018 is already over 1,100, making it the highest number recorded in the last 3 years. A spokesman for the Secretary General says 125 women and girls were raped and sexually assaulted in a 10-day period in November as they walked to Bentiu.
They report the attacks as having been carried out by young men in civilian clothing or military uniforms. The UN mission has sent patrols to the area, and its human rights team has launched an investigation to identify the perpetrators. UNMISS engineers are also clearing foliage from the sides of the road to make it harder for attackers to conceal their presence.
Well, Patton says South Sudanese officials have acknowledged the pervasiveness of sexual violence and that it is unacceptable, but the level of outrage is yet to translate into a concrete response, such as consequences for perpetrators. Patton is also urging Security Council members not to underestimate the ability of the targeted sanctions to have a deterrent impact on would-be perpetrators. The governor of Congo's capital city on Wednesday ordered a halt to campaigning in Kinshasa ahead of Sunday's presidential vote for security reasons. But opposition supporters say the move is an attempt to meddle in the race. The decision was made by Governor Andre Kimbuta, a member of the ruling coalition. Kinshasa is an opposition stronghold where security forces have killed dozens of people during protests against Kabila's refusal to step down when his mandate officially expired 2 years ago. Campaigning was to end at midnight on Friday in the race between Kabila's preferred successor, Emmanuel Ramazani Shadari, and two main challengers, Felix Tshisekedi and Martin Fayulu. Fayulu had scheduled a rally in Kinshasa on Wednesday. Opposition leaders say the government is trying to rig the results in Shadari's favor with new electronic voting machines and falsified voter registrations. The government denies it is engaging in any fraud. Now, for the latest on the Congo elections, the viewers Abdurrahman Dia joins me live on the phone from Kinshasa. Good evening, Abdurrahman.
Good evening, Vincent.
Now, we know that, as we mentioned, Fayulu, the candidate, was actually scheduled to hold a big rally in Kinshasa. Did it take place today?
No, it won't take place. At least he won't be here. I am here at the open field at the area of Njili, near the international airport of Kinshasa, where this youth rally was supposed to take place. Instead, what we have is loud music and a few thousand people who were expecting to see their leader today. I'm told that the crowd was much bigger, but a lot of them had to go home because they got the information that the governor has canceled the rally.
Now, what has been the reaction from the people?
Well, here at least people are very disappointed. I have talked to a couple of supporters of Martin Fayulu who said that they will stay here at least on the whole night if they have to. They still hope that he will show up, which is very unlikely. So people are very disappointed from this end. Earlier, I talked to a few people who were saying that they hope that this would not escalate the tension here. They thought that it would be better to let people have their last meetings and, gather their supporters and talk to them, and hopefully everybody will, at least if they provided security, everything should be fine. That's at least what a few people have told me earlier.
Now, Governor Kimbuta says this is for security reasons. Is there any specific thing that has happened, say, in the last 2 days that would warrant this kind of action?
Right, and this adds to already the warnings from some foreign embassy, like the U.S. Embassy and also the British government advising their citizens not to be here around this time if they don't have to. So people do have concern, but others think that this decision is very politically motivated, and because if they wanted to, they could provide security for everybody.
And we know the opposition has been very suspicious. There was the burning of that storage for electronic machines, and also, of course, some skirmishes that led to death.
Right.
Are people confident that this election will take place?
Suspicious, and both the main candidates of the opposition, whether it's Martin Fayulu or Felix Tshisekedi, are now saying no matter what, the election has to take place on Sunday because that's what the Electoral Commission had promised, and they are hoping the election will take place.
But how about those who are concerned that perhaps there could be a scheme here to manipulate the machines that will be brought in, because they have to be brought in from somewhere?
I lost you on that. Can you repeat it, please?
Well, I just want to mention that there's some who fear that there could be some rigging happening even before the election takes place.
It is still possible. It is kind of volatile, and anything could happen.
Yeah.
People here in Kinshasa were hoping that they would be spared of this violence that we have seen in other parts of the country.
Yeah.
So they are hoping that it will stay this way at least until election day, and why not after election day?
Oh, we hope for the best.
It's hard to predict what's going to happen.
Okay, Abdurrahman, stay safe. Thank you very much. That's Abdurrahman Dia reporting live from Kinshasa on the phone there. Well, today we are continuing our series of profiles on men and women of all ages and all walks of life in the Democratic Republic of Congo. They are talking about the hope they have for their country and what they expect from Sunday's general elections. On today's We Are Congolese episode, we hear from Kastake Mwenge.
Bon, c'est une fierté pour moi d'être congolaise, puisque notre cher pays est un pays très riche vraiment. S'il n'y avait pas l'insécurité, on pourrait trouver n'importe quoi. La vie est très riche, la vie est très facile au Congo, dans notre pays. Moi, en tant que Congolais, nous avons beaucoup de problèmes. Par exemple, pour le moment, nos enfants ne sont pas scolarisés, voire la population de Beni. Il n'y a pas longtemps que j'étais à Beni. J'ai fait là 2 mois et demi. Vraiment, les gens souffrent. Chaque soir, les gens portent des bagages pour aller se réfugier ailleurs, dans leur propre pays. On est réfugié dans son propre pays. La pauvreté, on est très pauvre à cause de l'insécurité, à cause de la guerre. On fait l'exode rural. Vous êtes dans la brousse et vous êtes en train de vous réfugier dans la même brousse. On ne sait pas comment. Vraiment, il y a trop de difficultés. Ce que je déteste dans ces pays, on nous dit quelquefois de choisir nos autorités. Et nos autorités là que nous choisissons, ils nous promettent de réaliser quelque chose, de faire quelque chose pour nous, pour la population. Mais par après, on voit le contraire, on ne réalise rien. Par exemple, on nous a parlé de 5 chantiers. Mais on continue toujours à souffrir. Il n'y a rien qui est réalisé. Nous choisissons bien, nous votons de nos députés, n'importe quelle personnalité qui sont à la hauteur de nous venir en aide. Mais par après, quand ils ont eu les personnes qui sont responsables de ces misères, ce sont nos autorités. Il n'y a pas d'autres personnes, c'est seulement nos autorités. S'ils prennent en main leurs responsabilités, cette misère va bientôt se terminer. Ce sont les responsables de ce pays. Si je deviens présidente de la République, je rétablirai la sécurité au Congo et j'améliorerai la vie sociale de la population. Nous attendons du nouveau président un changement extraordinaire. En voyant la misère que nous venons de traverser durant le mandat des autres qui sont devant lui, il faut que le peuple puisse respirer. Il faut que le peuple puisse se réjouir de son temps qui va rester au pouvoir, puisque nous en avons assez, nous avons trop souffert. Et s'il y a un changement, il faut que les choses changent réellement. Si on a souffert, s'il y avait la misère, il faut qu'il y ait maintenant la joie. Il faut que les gens maintenant vivent vraiment dans une bonne ambiance.
Voters on the Indian Ocean island nation of Madagascar are choosing a new president on Wednesday in a runoff election between 2 former leaders of the country. Residents are deciding between former presidents Andre Rajoelina and Marc Ravalomanana. Rajoelina, who received 4% more votes in the first election in November, seems confident about Wednesday's poll.
Personnellement, je suis conscient.
Personally, I'm confident, and I think that the Malagasy people will decide once and for all who will run the country. Let me once again make an appeal to the Malagasy people to come out and vote in large numbers, and right now, because you should not wait until the last minute to vote.
Rajoelina is facing off with Ravalomanana for the first time since political turmoil in 2009 forced Ravalomanana out of office. The winner will be tasked with fighting corruption and improving the economy in one of the world's poorest nations. South Africa has issued an arrest warrant for former Zimbabwean First Lady Grace Mugabe of an alleged assault in an upscale district of Johannesburg last year, according to police, after the alleged assault with an electric cable came to light in August 2017. The South African government granted Mugabe diplomatic immunity. That immunity was overturned by a South African court this year after the alleged victim, model Gabriela Engels, challenged the decision. Grace Mugabe has denied assaulting Engels with an electric cable, saying an intoxicated and unhinged Engels attacked her with a knife after the model had gone to see the Mugabe's sons at the hotel. South African advocacy group AfriForum, which represented Engels, has dismissed Mugabe's denial as a lie. Well, I want to know what you think about Africa 54 and the stories we cover during the conversation on Facebook. The address is Africa 54. We're also streaming our show live on Facebook. So check us out and share our show with your friends. Find me on Twitter at VOA Vince McCory. Still ahead on Africa 54, how heavy use of generators puts Nigeria's climate plans in jeopardy. But first, a look at Wednesday's headlines.
This election is not free, it's not fair.
美国呢发布新非洲战略，以及你提到的这个美国官员的相关的言论。
Our objective is to resolve conflicts, not freeze them in perpetuity.
On to West Africa now, the use of generators in Nigeria is on the rise because of constant power outages. Nigerian businesses spend more than half of their budgets on generators every year, according to the country's Rural Electrification Agency. This reliance is believed to contribute significantly to greenhouse gas emissions, a main topic of discussion at the recently ended climate change conference in Poland. Here's Timothy Obiezu in Abuja.
Ayobami Michael has been running this business center since he got his degree in computer science in 2010. His company depends on reliable power, but most times he has to use his generator as an alternative source of electricity.
If you can see now, the light has been so bad since yesterday. Now it has been so bad for me. I could not do any work seriously like that. I just have to go down to the police station and get petrol.
Most Nigerian businesses like Michael's face similar challenges. In the last 10 years, generator use has increased significantly. An estimated $14 billion, representing more than 50% of Nigeria's 2018 budget, is spent annually on generators, either importing, fueling, or maintaining them. While that bothers many here, generator dealers like Arinze Isiebunam say they are cashing in.
I used to sell electronics, but I see that more demands are coming on generators. Then I have to stop some television and other things and focus more on generators because more people, just like today, I sold more than 3.
Only 18% of electricity produced in Nigeria comes from renewable sources. Experts accuse the government of neglecting to develop the alternative energy sector, forcing most businesses to depend heavily on generators. Energy expert and economist Jaye Gaskia says generator dependence has economic repercussions.
Every household has a generator. every small, medium, micro enterprise as a generator. Every big firm, corporation, not only have generators, they actually have power plants, their own power plants. But none of this is integrated into the national grid, so none of this is available publicly, which is what makes the economic sense not to be really sensible, not to be rational. And the impact that this has is that it's one of the key reasons why the cost of doing business in Nigeria is one of the highest in the world.
Nigeria's President Muhammadu Buhari is among 200 delegates who attended the Climate Change Summit in Poland this month. The goal is for each nation to reduce emissions of greenhouse gases to limit global warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius. But Nigeria is Africa's top oil producer and the biggest importer of fossil fuel-powered generators. Experts say it will not be easy for President Buhari to eliminate the existing generators from over 60 million households, a factor that will put the climate change goal in question. Timothy Obiezu for VOA News, Abuja.
Well, now, oral storytelling is an ancient and intimate tradition between the storyteller and their audience. The storyteller and the listeners are physically close and often seated together in a circular fashion. In an effort to keep the tradition alive in Africa, dozens of storytellers from across the continent recently gathered in Nairobi for a festival seeking to stop the ancient tradition of oral history from dying out. George Nganga reports.
These artists from across Africa are trying to keep the ancient traditions of oral storytelling alive by creating a modern set of fables and folktales. The Reimage Storytelling Festival, held in the Kenyan capital, featured dozens of artists from across the continent, each bringing with them stories of knowledge and values that have been passed down through oral traditions and performances for years.
And the generation who used to tell these stories are now in their 80s. So for me, it was really important to see how do we preserve not only the stories, but in particular, the culture of telling stories orally. Because I think it's very different from watching a television program or reading a book. But to have that storyteller in front of you with an audience to be able to interact is something very precious that we're in danger of losing.
Accompanying the acts was the sound of the kora, a traditional African harp, played by a griot from Gambia, whose family has kept oral histories alive in Western Africa for hundreds of years. Many of the storytellers pay tribute to African narrators.
Our pasts are important to me, our histories are important to me, and I kind of talked about that a bit in the story that I told on stage, that they connect us to our memories, our ancestry, and they guide us. You know, they teach us on how to live, how to be good people, how to interact with other people, how to interact with the environment.
The stories addressed issues relevant to African societies today, from corruption and greed to war, nepotism and materialism.
Well, that was George Nganga of Reuters reporting. Now, researchers... Well, now, researchers at the online shopping site eBay have come up with a way for you to surf apps on your smartphone without having to use your fingers. Their solution? Use your head, literally. Viewers Michelle Quinn has more on the newest way to scroll through your phone, hands not required.
Online shopping, checking tomorrow's weather, sending text messages. Just some of the things people do on their phones. But what if you have motor disabilities or can't hold or touch a phone?
Today it's almost impossible for them to directly interact with their cell phones.
eBay research scientist Jinrong She needed to find a solution while working with an intern who wanted to shop online but couldn't hold a phone and had trouble using voice-controlled software. They thought about using eye movement, but it turns out eyes don't move smoothly. So they came up with another idea.
Can we use like head movement to control our virtual stylus on the cell phone?
And like a light bulb, eBay's head gaze was born, using a smartphone's camera to track head gestures.
It's similar like you use the mouse to control the cursor on the screens. So we take that 3D head position orientation information and apply some math mathematics calculation and project that information onto the 2D screen so that the phone would know on which part of the screen you are looking at.
Besides allowing his coworker to shop by phone, She says headgaze has potential for broader applications. eBay says it's making the software code freely available to developers so they can come up with their own ideas for hands-free surfing.
This kind of technology has potential huge impact, and we think we should give it back to the communities so that a lot of other people can quickly adapt that technologies and really get benefit from that.
Whether scrolling through recipes or shopping online, headgaze could change the way we navigate our phones. Michelle Quinn, VOA News, San Francisco.
Welcome back to Africa 54, and here's what's trending. An inventor from southern France has developed a machine that breaks down plastic into a liquid that can be used as fuel. Christopher Costa says his Crystallis machine creates fuel by feeding bits of plastic into a 450-degree Celsius reactor, which churns out liquid composed of 65% diesel that can be used for generators of boat motors, 18% petrol for heating or for powering lamps, 10% gas for heating, and 7% carbon that can be used for crayons or colorants. The makers say it could be especially useful in developing countries where waste management and fuel supply is fraught with difficulties. The developers hope to create a container-sized version of the machine by mid-2019, which can churn out 40 liters of fuel per hour. Well, and finally, the Boring Company, South African billionaire Elon Musk's underground transit venture, unveiled its first tunnel 2 years after the billionaire entrepreneur complained about Los Angeles traffic and vowed to just start digging as a remedy. Musk has advertised his 3.2-kilometer tunnel as the first step towards developing a high-speed subterranean network for whisking vehicles and pedestrians below the congested streets of the second-largest city in the United States. Future proposed underground transit systems include downtown Chicago to O'Hare International Airport and an East Coast loop that would run from Washington, D.C. out to the Maryland suburbs. And that's what's trending today. Well, and that's our show for today. Now be sure to watch Africa 54 on our website at voaafrica.com for more news. Tune in to VOA's evening radio show, Africa News Tonight at 1800 UTC. And in the mornings to Daybreak Africa between 0300 and 0600 UTC, Monday through Friday. Thanks a lot for watching from all of us here in Washington. Have a good night.
Welcome to English in a Minute. Ballet dancers are known for dancing on the tips of their toes.
Tiptoe.
It sounds as if Anna and Jonathan are going to dance for us.
Thanks for going to my friend's art show last night.
Yeah, it was fun.
What did you think of her paintings?
They were, let's see, how can I say this? The paintings were